Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to Natal Charts 101. I am your host, Benny Sable, and today we are going over the planets, the body of your birth chart, the cosmic origins that keep your inner universe alive and kicking. So, last time it was just an overview of everything that's in your birth chart, the who, the what, the why, things of that nature. So today we're going to go over again the planets, which again is the body. Um, so the main thing to give you a quick overview is that we're going to meet the 10 planets, including Pluto, no matter what astronomy professionals say. Discover what each one does in your chart, explore the mythology, symbolism, and the spicy archetypes of each one. Learn which signs and houses they rule, some bonus nods to global deities, and interpret your chart like a pro or at least a cool amateur. So, now that we've set the vibe, let's meet the planets. Not as floating space rocks, but as the wild archetypes influencing your thoughts, actions, and cosmic flavor. So, first up, we have Mercury, our closest cousin to the sun. And as you can see, it's actually very pretty and also one of the smaller ones besides Pluto. Now, Mercury, some keywords to know about Mercury are communication, thinking, tech, travel, logic, and wit. So, for those of you who understand a bit more about it, it's why when Mercury retrograde comes around, there's communication issues and tech problems, things of that nature. Now, the thing about it is, Mercury rules Gemini and traditionally Virgo. It kind of makes sense, but with Gemini, it definitely makes sense because if, traditionally they are the talkers. They like to talk, they like to yap. And I mean that in a very positive way. Virgos, it might not seem that way, but they will talk, especially when they like you. Now, Mercury, this is the one that runs your mind, your mouth, and all your texts you regret 5 seconds later. It's all about communication, and which is why Mercury is known as the fast talking trickster, um, as well as why it rules the third house, which is the one of communication, and the sixth house of daily work and routines, which is why it also rules Virgo. Routines, and they like working, especially the good ones. Now, again, like I said, the archetype for Mercury is the fast talking trickster, the sharp mind, the sharper tongue. Think the friend who can argue both sides and still win, which is why you never want to argue with a Virgo. Now, the other thing about it is that Mercury is all about communication, thinking fast, and sometimes stirring the pot just to see what happens. Mercury's that clever friend who always has a comeback and might low key be right every time, which is, again, why you never argue with a Virgo. And Mercury is also the one sliding in your DMs and hacking your group chat. He or she is the clever, slippery, and curious enough to deliver divine messages by day and stir the pot by night. Now, some interesting tidbits is the symbol or the glyph of Mercury. It is a circle or spirit at the top of a cross, which is the matter, topped with a crescent, which is the mind, which is obviously, again, communication bridging soul, mind, and body, aka cosmic Wi Fi. Now, some interesting roots. Mercury, or Hermes, for you mythological people out there, is the messenger of the gods, guides of the souls, god of travelers and thieves. Now, Mercury is generally the Roman name for Hermes, but we'll get into that probably at a later date. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on how you all feel. And some other uh, notable gods are Thoth, Odin, Eligua, and Eligua. Apologies. The Egyptian god, the Norse god, and the Yoruban trickster messenger. We might go into those much later too, if anybody's interested. And a modern tidbit about Mercury is that it is the group chat instigator, delivers news, stirs the pot, ghosts, and returns with a witty meme. We all know someone like that. And if you pay attention to your chart, whatever sign is there is what controls your communication skills. And again, like I said, we'll get to the signs in the next video. Onward and forward. Next is Venus, our beautiful gas, one of the few gas planets, and another neighbor to our dear Earth. Venus, the soft power seductress. Keywords being love, beauty, pleasure, attraction, romance, charm, indulgence, values, and art. Venus rules Taurus and Libra, respectively, and that makes a lot of sense, especially if you know anyone in both of those signs. Traditionally, of course, Venus rules the second house of possessions and the seventh house of partnerships and relationships. Again, she is the soft power seductress. Beauty, charm, and unshakable poise. Think of the friend who gets free drinks, upgrades, and makes it look effortless. Venus is the cosmic curator of desire. She's the one who walks in, doesn't say a word, and still becomes the center of the room. She governs who you're drawn to, what you find beautiful, and how you flirt, date, and vibe. Venus is your love language, your aesthetic, and your urge to post thirst traps or buy something shiny when you're sad. She rules your attraction and pleasure, but don't let that soft vibe fool you. This is charm as a weapon. Now, the symbol for Venus, it is a circle over a cross. It is spirit over matter. Love, beauty, and harmony take the lead. This is the original soft power flex. Now, again, the mythological roots of Venus are Aphrodite / Venus, born from the sea foam, goddess of beauty, desire, and messy love triangles. Other goddesses that mesh with other goddesses that are represented by the planet Venus are Oshun from the Yoruba, Freya from the Norse, Hathor, and Xochitl from the Aztec. I apologize if I butchered that. And again, another modern tidbit. Venus is the icon of soft glam in situationships. She spends more time curating playlists than solving problems. Up next, we have Mars, the red giant, our other neighbor that we are, for some reason, trying to land on and take over. Unnecessary. But Mars, keywords for Mars are drive, passion, anger, ambition, sex, aggression, survival, courage, the sacred masculine energy, which is the opposite, which I forgot to put on Venus, being the sacred feminine energy. Mars rules Aries and Scorpio, and traditionally it is the minor ruler of Scorpio, which is why Scorpio has that fire and water energy. Again, we'll get into that in the next video. It rules the first house, which is self-identity, which explains Aries, and eighth house, death and transformation, explains Scorpio. The archetype for Mars is the hot headed warrior, pure action, no filter. Think that friend who says, let's go before asking why. Now, Mars is how we fight, how we chase, how we want it. It fuels our goals, our libido, and our reactions. When Mercury thinks, apologies, Mars acts. It's raw fire, sometimes useful, sometimes dangerous, but always honest. Now, Mars is also that passion, drive, and sometimes pure rage. If Mercury writes the tweet, Mars is the one that hits send and then starts a fight in the replies. Mars is how you go after what you want and how you react when someone blocks your path. Now, the thing about the symbol for Mars is that it is a circle with an arrow pointing up and to the right. It is the spirit in motion, action, drive, desire. It's literally the symbol for male energy. Basically saying, get in, loser, we're starting fights. Now, obviously, for anybody that knows mythology and even those who don't know it, and even know a little bit because you've played some video games, Aries slash Mars is the bloodstained god of war and raw aggression. Rarely subtle, never calm. Shout out to Kratos. Now, some other gods that line up very well with Mars are Sekhmet from Egypt, Ogun from the Yoruban, and again, apologies if I butcher this, Huitzilopochtli from the Aztec, and Tyr from the Norse mythology. Um, the thing about Mars, last thing, is that I said what I said. You know, that type of friend, that type of person, or if you are that person. They like to wear red, probably punches things for fun, and they might get banned from Twitter often. Next up, we have Jupiter. Jupiter. The keywords for Jupiter, our red eye friend. Expansion, wisdom, faith, philosophy, optimism, abundance, luck, higher learning, exploration, and freedom. All those definitely match up really well for the two signs that it rules, being Sagittarius and Pisces. And it rules the houses, the ninth house of travel and philosophy, and the 12th house of spirituality and philosophy, even if it's not up there. The archetype for Jupiter is the wise and witty sage. Now, Jupiter rolls in with main character energy. You know, big ideas, bold risks, big laughter, bigger snacks. Think that one professor who's probably been everywhere and has a story for everything, right? And is a firm believer that the universe wants you to win. Jupiter's that chill friend who gives spiritual advice while booking a last minute flight to Bali. They want you to grow, laugh, and say yes to more. So definitely think about it as like Jupiter is that hype man. They want you to believe in something bigger than yourself. Think of the big picture, right? Whether that's a philosophy, a dream, or just the belief that things can get better. It's that part of you that learns through experience, takes the leap, and trust it'll land somewhere meaningful, or at least with a good story to tell. Now, Jupiter being Jupiter, it is the big boy, Zeus, lightning wielding sky daddy, god of thunder, law, luck, and ego the size of Olympus. Obviously, other gods that go along with it are Thor, Amun Ra, Indra, and Marduk. Now, if Jupiter were a person, obviously, he'd have eight business ideas, zero spreadsheets, and always thinks they're morally right. Big, trust me, I got this energy. Now, as for the symbol, it's very interesting. Probably one of my personal favorites just to look at. It is a fancy looking four shape, a crescent, meaning the mind, opening upward over a cross, matter. It's expansion of the mind through experience and belief. It's the say yes to the journey sigil. So, after Jupiter, we have our favorite ring, baby, Saturn. Saturn. Discipline, responsibility, boundaries, structure, time, maturity, karma, hard lessons, ambition, and limitation. Sounds a lot like the two signs it rules, Capricorn and Aquarius. Rules the 10th house of career and reputation and the 11th house of community. Now, the symbol of Saturn, I've always thought it just looked like an H with a cross, but it's actually a cross over a crescent and it looks like a sickle. It is matter dominating the mind, which is structure, boundaries, and reality checks, aka grown up time. So that's why the archetype for Saturn is the stern life coach, the one who makes you do push ups and your taxes. Think of that grumpy mentor with a heart of gold buried under 10 layers of grit. Oy. You can just imagine so many people like that. I can myself. Sometimes I'm thinking of myself at the best and worst of times. Saturn is the voice in your head saying you can rest after you finish. It's the planet of tough love and long games. No shortcuts, just strategy. Saturn isn't here to punish you, it's here to level you up through sweat, patience, and character building plot twists. Now, that brings Saturn to be the big daddy of them all, Cronus, the Titan of Time, also known as the father of the gods of Olympus, I think. I might be wrong. I could possibly be very wrong at the moment. If I am, tell me. It's okay. I don't mind being wrong. But again, Titan of Time, Karma, Discipline, and hard won growth. Once ate his kids. Exactly right. I was right. Yeah. Other gods are Shani from the Vedic, Geb from the Egyptian, and again, try not to butcher because I do not want to disrespect the gods, or the deities, I should say. Tezcatlipoca from the Aztec, and Namtar from the Mesopotamian. I guess the best way to think of Saturn is the strict but fair teacher you didn't like until you realized that they were right. They give you the tough love, but also just tough. Ugh. We're almost done, I promise. Up next is Uranus, our pretty blue, fuzzy one. Light blue, at least. Uranus, with the funny name. Now, Uranus has a very, it looks like the glyph for Uranus looks like a Pokemon, one of the unknown ones. But it kind of works out. Innovation, rebellion, sudden change, individuality, freedom, electricity, revolution, eccentricity. Rules Aquarius. Makes a whole lot of sense, especially if you know any Aquarius in your life. It rules the 11th house over community, future visions, social reform, tech, and networks. Now, the glyph for Uranus, it is a circle flanked by two crescents with a cross underneath. The antenna of intuition plugged into revolution. Chaos meets innovation. This is why Uranus is known, as well as many Aquarius are known as the rebel geniuses of the zodiac. Disruptive, electric, and allergic to normal. Think the hacker who crashes the system and then builds something cooler. We know plenty of them. Uranus is the cosmic curveball. It zaps you out of your comfort zone and straight into your evolution. This is the part of you that craves freedom, breaks rules, and invents the future on a caffeine high at 3 a.m. Expect the unexpected and maybe enjoy it. You know, they show up mid argument with what if we just blew up the system? And then, they give manic pixie inventor vibes. Now, Uranus or Uranus is the sky god of chaos, revolution, and surprise plot twists. Sounds about right. Other gods are Shu, Enlil, Vayu, and Tlaloc from the Aztec. Moving right along to our deep blue, Neptune with a pretty eye. Very obvious. Illusion, dreams, spirituality, compassion, escapism, fantasy, sacrifice, inspiration, and fog. Rules Pisces, the 12th house of subconsciousness, dreams, endings, spiritual connection, hidden worlds. They write poetry, cries in the bathtub, vanishes for months, deep, confusing, and quite possibly high. If you know anybody, it makes sense. Now, the symbol for Neptune is obvious. It's a trident, Poseidon symbol, or a crescent above a cross. Dreams flowing into matter or confusion if you're not grounded. It's the am I a it excuse me. It is the am I dreaming or disassociating glyph. This is why Neptune is known as the dreamy mystic, poetic, slippery, and probably levitating. Think of that person who gives eerily accurate tarot readings but is 20 minutes late to everything. It reminds me of my mother. I miss her. Neptune is the vibe shift. It blurs the lines between what's real and what's imagined. Ooh, excuse me. Inviting you to dream bigger, but also to get lost if you're not grounded. It's where art, soul, and confusion meet. Beautiful, yes. Clear, not even close. This is your inner artist, empath, and mystic all in one. Dreams, check. Delusions, also check. Neptune blurs the lines between spirit and reality, between truth and what you wish was true. Now, again, as I already said, this is Poseidon, Lord of the Sea, dreams and illusions, deeply mysterious, often emotionally unavailable. Other gods that are similar are Yam, Varuna, Njord, and Olokun. Now, we're going to backtrack just a bit because I did forget some information for Uranus. Now, Uranus is the one that literally crashes the party. They are the rebel, the innovator, the one who says, what if we just didn't? So, essentially, why we are currently in the age of Aquarius. It is the planet of shock, revolution, and breaking systems just because they're boring. Now, this right now, the timeline we're in isn't boring. It's very chaotic, but it's because we're breaking some systems. So basically, expect the unexpected and then expect more. Now we can move on to my favorite planet and one I respect highly, dear old Pluto. Power, transformation, death and rebirth, control, depth, taboo, healing, evolution, destruction. Rules Scorpio. The eighth house of death, intimacy, transformation, shared resources, deep psychological work. Now, the symbol, it is traditionally a P over an L for Percival Lowell, or a circle above a crescent above a cross. It is spirit, which is usually the circle, transforming the soul, which is the crescent, and body, which is the cross. Power, death, rebirth. It's the underworld's calling card. Now, I love Pluto not just because of the planet itself. It also takes forever to make a full rotation, but I highly respect Hades, the god. He is my favorite one, as well as Anubis from the Egyptian. They are my two favorites. But also, some of it's just because in my own birth chart, the eighth house practically rules my own birth chart. So I deal with this a lot. And the thing is, Pluto is known as the shadow alchemist, intense, silent, and endlessly transformative. Think of the person who's been through hell, came back glowing, and won't say what happened. Pluto is not here for light lessons. Pluto rules transformation, rebirth, and your power hidden under 20 layers of emotional armor. It's the phoenix, the tower moment, the version of you that only comes out after everything else burns. Deep stuff, but powerful. Pluto doesn't knock, it breaks down doors, then helps you rebuild from the ashes. Can I get an amen? The planet, this planet rules what's hidden and hard to face, but also what makes you powerful when you do. It's raw, real, and not for the faint of heart. But damn, does it work and is it worth it? Yes. Now, of course, as I said, Pluto has its roots with Hades, the underworld CEO, rules death, rebirth, and uncomfortable truths. Others are Anubis, again, Mictlantecutli, the Aztec god of the dead, Ereshkigal, the Mesopotamian goddess of the underworld, and Baron Samedi, the Haitian voodoo god of the dead, or deity of the dead. Pluto is that quiet, intense person that knows your secrets and doesn't flinch. They are Scorpio's therapist and definitely keeps all the receipts. Now, that was a lot, and thank you for hanging out with me through this. So, just the cliff notes of what we've learned. Mercury is the fast talking trickster, Venus is the soft power seductress, Mars is the hot headed warrior, Jupiter, the wise and witty sage, Saturn, the stern life coach, Uranus, the rebel genius, Neptune, the dreamy mystic, and Pluto, the shadow alchemist. And if there's anything else you need to know, please leave it in the comments. We can go over it. We can hash it out. I would be glad to talk with anybody who needs to know more. And next time, we're going to be going up over the signs, each sign in detail, and it's going to be fun. So feel free to take notes. And thank you for watching. Stay cosmic. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you astronauts next time. Bye bye.